You're listening to the Business and Life Podcast, where 7 days a week, proven entrepreneurs share their success stories, failures, and give you true value on how you can build a great business and an awesome life. With your host, Mike Olivas.
What's happening, guys? Today we're chatting with Kale Panoho, who is a partner of K&J Growth and digital marketing creative firm who's helped companies like TikTok, Monster Energy Drink scale their marketing efforts with a detailed ROI. Kale's work has been featured in Inc., Forbes, and has been nominated for the Asia Pacific Forbes 30 Under 30. If you want to get a hold of Kale and his team, you can find them at kjgrowth.com. Kale, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for jumping on. So tell our listeners something interesting about yourself and also where you're calling in from today.
Yeah, so a couple of things. I am Māori, which is an Indigenous New Zealander. I live which brings me back to where I am. I live in New Zealand, bottom of the South. And so for our company, K&J, we're remotely run. We've got an office in LA, one in London, and then here down the bottom of the South Island. So in terms of business and the life sense, I prioritize the life part and I'm living where I like.
That's why I love to hear it, man. You're speaking my language and our language. It's about business and life and trying to figure out how we can realize that the two are combined and the two are just equally important, but we know life wins the game. And when it's all said and done, I think these stories and these kind of failures and wins, of course, help our listeners understand the full transparency, I think, of business and entrepreneurship. What does your company do? Let's talk about K&J, what it does, what kind of value it brings to its clients, its customers in the marketplace.
Yeah, K&J Growth, we're a digital creative firm, and the way that looks is, I guess, from the typical agency model where you have the general account manager who looks after people, and they have generalists that do the ads, what they do across campaigns, they manage the service, delivery, and that sort of thing. We sort of changed and created a different model where we have, linear. So what it looks like is we have a specialist who runs with other specialists and all they focus on is Facebook ads. And in the world of digital, for example, where we've got like a LinkedIn specialist, we've got our core ad buying specialist, we've got just our Facebook specialist and SEO specialists. Well, the way digital is, you need to have that type of team. And for us, we're able to sort of execute on some pretty large campaigns. For us, we work with a multitude of clients. We've worked with TikTok, Monster Energy, right through to very, very small startups. And the other side of it too is that this isn't my only business. I've got another company called Rugby Bricks. I've opened gyms, and it's the same with John, my business partner. We've also got other things that we're obviously applying what we've learned in the business and working with those other companies into other companies we now own too.
Yeah, no, I've kind of done the same thing, and it's really exciting. I think once you start seeing one business scale and knowing that you can do it for another, because the concepts will always hold true, right? Of just building something. And I think that some of our biggest strengths as entrepreneurs, Kale, are kind of like, well, if something goes wrong with one business or any business, you're going to figure it out because you've done it and you know how to do it. And you also know all the shit storms that come with it sometimes, unfortunately, but it is what it is. And I think that's the reality of some of the biggest strengths that some entrepreneurs, even like yourself, don't even see, that like if it goes that south or something were to happen that's not in your control, hence like the coronavirus that everyone's talking about right now by the time this airs, like things that aren't in your control, things that, let's say, algorithms shut down, God forbid, let's say Google, Facebook, Instagram, things that we can't control, right? You'll figure it out because you have that skill set. And I'd love to be able to just kind of throw that out there, like you just mentioned right now, that you've been able to build some other things with the same concepts and processes that you've been able to build your current company with, or with your larger company, probably K&J Growth. I like what you mentioned, and I want to kind of dive into a little bit because I know a lot of entrepreneurs that are listening, listen to me chat with other marketing people, agencies, and the word marketing agency is coming just as common as the word entrepreneur. And so,
yeah, 100%.
And so, but what you just mentioned is what gets me excited to talk about, because it hopefully will allow some of our listeners and or the entrepreneurs out there listening to hopefully pick up the phone or even jump on your website or jump on our show notes as well, to see, like you mentioned something that I like, and I've been doing social media marketing for my own company for years and have had agencies that have done it, and then agencies have failed and I take it back over. You departmentalized specialties, and tell me why. And I like that, by the way, but tell me why you decided to do that and differentiate yourself.
Yeah, I guess when you look at the typical model of obviously delivering services to a client, you're not going to be able to test everything with yourself as a generalist. And the thing with that is, like, if you run verticals where we have specialists taking care of just Facebook ads and just the Instagram ads, is that they're going to know the minutia of buying. They're going to understand, like, look, the business manager gets shut down. Here's how to rebear it, and here's how to buy it back. You know what I mean? As opposed to saying, look, this is what it is. And when we collaborate and we say, okay, cool, we've got a specialist in this vertical, a specialist in this vertical, what they're able to do is we're able to bring the best of the knowledge of those teams. And then for us to decide, okay, cool, we've got data performing really, really well here. Let's shut this off and then deliver the best outcomes for the client. And I think the issue with what it is and what you'll see today is, because digital is becoming such a wide range, and the way marketing is as well, like influencers, regardless of whatever you're doing, to whatever you might be, organic, LinkedIn, whatever that looks like, you're going to need to have really concise data. And if it's managed by a generalist, they're just not going to know. The indicators aren't going to be there. And then you can't double down in terms of what's going to one that's going to bring the biggest ROI, and then how to spend budget on that specialty. So
yeah, absolutely. How long does it take, do you feel, for you to be able to test enough, and not necessarily amounts, because I know that can change, especially in different markets, right? But how long do you think it takes for your company to understand, cool, this is the platform we're going to focus on because the results are here? Because your testing is definitely so important. Right when someone doesn't test for me, they're out, right? And I just, in a very nice way, like, why are we not testing as much as possible? Here's $1,000, here's $8,000 a month, $10,000, whatever it takes. Let's test to find out what works. And very simply, and I'm not saying that it's a simple process by any means, but then at that point, the answer is simple. Like, cool, let's put more money towards that. That makes sense. Yeah, that's bringing in leads, and these are converting, and not only leads but conversions. Of course, there's a lot of different aspects that go into it. But how long do you think it takes, or how long would you expect it to take for a company to know what works and what doesn't?
Yeah, I think one of the things that we do especially well, and why we are K&J Growth, and we figure out on that growth hacking part, is we'll spend roughly around about 2 to 4 weeks in that testing phase to pretty much have a definite ROI channel. But again, what we look at is, like, for an example, a Facebook campaign, we'll run 300 variants of the same ad in terms of which audience, what's the best performing, and we'll spend $5, whichever one's not bringing on the campaign ROI, cut. So I think when you have the ability to obviously test and scale, the other part of that is once you've got some really high performing content on one channel, it crosses over typically to the others, right? And then you can actually apply that logic into the buying of another category, or you can apply the creative to another organic theme. So for us, like, that test and measure and testing creative really aggressively gives us the best insights as we can get at the time in that sort of 2 to 4 week space.
I love that. I think that you just mentioned, like, even 300 variants, and those variants are likely not only just ads and graphic designs and videos, but copy, right? What do you think wins the game? I like to ask this question in the marketing world, man. What do you think wins the game? Marketing, I mean, in marketing and advertising, of course, is it copy, or is it like graphic design, the actual look, feel of the graphic? Copy or graphic?
Yeah, look, I think it comes to copy for me. I think if you've got a powerful hook in the way that someone produces, with the way video is now, though, if the right words are spoken, and that's basically the copy that's printed out for someone, if you can hook someone in the first 5 to 6 seconds, because attention spans are horrifically short thanks to TikTok and things like that, platforms are getting there. But if your copy or your scripts are good, that's what's going to pull people in.
Yeah, no, I've seen some crap graphics and some awesome copy still do well.
Yeah.
Right. And it's sad to say, or just like copy, where it could be an image with like a quote, but a quote based off of a company's CEO or their message that's like, this resonates. But yeah, I agree with you, by the way, on the copy side. And if you're listening as an entrepreneur, obviously on the copy angle, we're just talking about what truly resonates. And transparent copy, we go back to where they're going, of course, making sure that you're not saying one thing and then sending them to another, right? That's just automatically bounce rates are crazy. But let's talk a little bit. Yes, I like the platform thing. So, and to our listeners here, the reason why I'm giving Kale some props on this, because it doesn't happen on a holistic level within the marketing niche. And let me tell you what that means is when I've worked with, let's say, about a dozen different agencies over the course of 14 years, for sure 5 years, because when it's really kind of blown up a little bit more, it's let's just find out let's just test everything and see what works. But taking a holistic approach in marketing means taking a truly holistic approach. Now, taking a holistic approach in the marketing and advertising world just makes so much more sense. Now, we're talking about the Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok now. I had to teach myself Snapchat, which I think I lost probably $8,000 in a couple of weeks, and got nothing out of it, by the way. I mean, we got some leads, but they were crap. Sorry, Snapchat people, if you're listening, but it was crap. And we can. This is what's great about the podcast. I can say what the hell I want. So that was tough. At least my personal experience. Maybe again, there's probably some great people that really killed on that platform, but is that kind of where you test everything at the same time? And then that way do you create like landing pages at the same time to all of those? Are they all going to different places? I mean, testing is a very broad term. Like, tell me how you actually test, if you don't mind.
Yeah, of course. So I think I'll jump in and give some detail. For the first part is that, like, when we do campaign discovery, is that what we're looking to do when we chat with a client is we want to test your assumptions, right? Most people, if you own your own business, you're running a company, you've got a good idea of who your customer is, right? You have an idea of what you think the messaging should be, and you have an idea of like, this is what I think the best performing marketing is. What we'll do, and when we come into this, is we'll look at it and say, okay, great. Well, we think this might be your copy, but we think these tweaks might perform better. We think that imagery on this landing page might perform better, and we'll use tools like Lucky Orange or Hotjar just to track what scroll rates look like, how people are doing it. And then we'll build the campaign around, one, the variations of what our customer thinks, and then what our expertise are. And so then we'll go through, test it across each channel, and we think, okay, look, this platform looks really, really good. We might be buying on Quora. You know what I mean? It might be best buying organic answers and using promoted answers on Quora versus Facebook ads, right? And all we're looking forward to doing is like, is it testing the copy? Is it testing what the landing page image looks like? What are the bounces? And the key thing that we're doing this is that we're informing data to then inform scale. And that's the biggest part, right? Is because once you get a metric of saying, if you're buying a customer for $1 and you're making out of that dollar another $5, you want to put budget into that all day long, right? And this is what we do. This is where we specialize. And this is how we sort of figure it out, is that each of these specialists are going to inform not only the other channel, but obviously what we want to do in those spaces. And so the campaign is like, cool, I'm glad you've got these assumptions. I'm glad we've got baseline data. Let's really, really put it to the test and then find out if you're right. And if you are, fantastic. We can scale it up along to the channels that we've tested and we find to be the best performing.
What's happening, Life Nation? Michael Levis here. This is a time to do the right thing, not the profitable thing. I'm giving away COVID-19 business strategy sessions for free. I promise to give you my honest advice and coach you on a strategy that I feel would be best for the longevity of your business. I'm not asking you for your money, but in the interest of being able to help as many people as I can, I am asking you to be ready with your 1 to 2 specific questions so we can jump right into it. Go to michaellevis.com/coaching and simply schedule a call on my calendar. That's MIKEOLIVAS.com/coaching. How long do those winners win in terms of you get those ads? What are your thoughts on that? Because a lot of people have different... And this is a really good point, right? This is why you need optimizations, and this is why you need people paying attention. Typically what we'll find is best performing goes from around about 8 to 10 weeks before some sort of optimizations are needed, change channel messaging or something for what we see saturation. But you can sometimes see, and people will know this, if you're any person who's ever used Instagram, you'll see those ads that consistently circulate are running with like the same copy and creative for like up to 6 to 12 months. Yeah. So you've got to test and find out, right? But typically for us, it's about like that 8 to 10 weeks. Yeah. So when you see that guy talking about how he can be your business coach, it might be me, probably not. But like I don't even run ads honestly for that. But when you see that guy over and over again, or that girl over and over again, telling them they can do or the secret sauce for something, there's a reason for it, because they've tested it, it works, and they're going to keep shoving it down your throat.
Exactly.
And so you finally make a phone call or make some kind of action, or their CTAs finally hit. And I think the retargeting game is huge, and I think there's a lot to be learned about that, and we'll let them go to their website once we get that from you at the end of the show. But give me give me a time in one of your businesses or any of your entrepreneurship journey here, Kale, like when you felt you've hit rock bottom or you're close to it and had to like overcome like disaster.
Yeah, so I'm glad you brought this up, because when I see podcasts like this, or when I was watching podcasts like this at my lowest point, it was really hard to even imagine like what someone's lifestyle looks like then. like even like I would question, it's like, how are they making $1 million? Like, I don't understand this. Like, is that person even fucking telling the truth? Right?
Yeah, seriously.
So
yeah, no, I hear you.
Like when you're in that famine mindset, like it's really, really tough. So I'll jump into my experience and then like, but for anyone listening, like I understand like this is a tough time to watch other people. And if you're looking for inspiration and help, like it will come, but it is a time thing. So
yeah,
I'll jump to a point where we were initially sort of I opened our first gym. We did a very big launch where we sort of signed up a couple hundred people with annual memberships, and we did it on the back of $200 marketing budget. And the reason we did it on the back of $200 marketing budget is because we were shit poor at the time, right? And the reasoning behind that is because I'd had another job that I'd been working for, and I had been recruited for it, and I got let go here in New Zealand. You can have it if you're doing a 90-day period. Like they recruited me for this role, and then they're like, if you don't think you fit in the 90 days, I came into the office and I walked in and they were like, hey, look, thanks for coming in today, but we've got your stuff in a box. We won't be needing your help today.
What?
Yeah. And this is like a crashing and like horrible crushing realization for me at that point too, is that I'd been living a lot on the front of, I've been successful most of my life, and I'd never really come to the point or collusion where like my ego and the way I've been managing and working in that place had actually caught up with me, right? And the way I look back of being like let go in that role was because, one, I believed I was better than I was. Two, I was working for what I thought my image of myself looked like as opposed to the people around me. And three, like I wasn't thinking creatively anymore around how I do marketing or how I lead a company. It was, how do I get more fame for Kale, right? And so that big failure and insight came at a really crushing time, which led me to come out of one, like I was dark for like good couple of weeks, like crushed, pretty horrifically down.
Yeah.
But on the other side of it, gave me a lot of assumptions and questions about who I am as a person, and also bringing myself up and out of that. And so on the flip of that, and this is that getting fired, is that we did do a launch where we opened a gym where I had no money, but we did manage to come out the other side and create sort of a successful campaign. And if you just type in KLP gym launch, like there's a few case studies across Inc., PTDC, and a few other big
awesome.
media outlets. But yeah,
so that came into
sure.
That came from just like a area of like just discomfort, depression, like shit, what's next? What do I do? Right. And I think, and I say this a lot on the show, like a lot of people's mess become their message. And it's really cool. Like, it's really cool. And I just commend you for that, because sometimes either you sit in the corner, or you sit in the shower naked in the corner crying, or you pick it up and knock it out. Right. I mean, there's just a couple of options. Either you show up or you give up. And I think true entrepreneurs realize that sometimes it's just time to figure it out. And it's such a scary blessing in disguise. So if you're going through something like this, like Kale has gone through, I've gone through, everyone that I've likely chatted with on this show has gone through, is, and some crazy failures, some losing millions, literally, and then some just, and not money or not, it's still more of a mindset that just kicks your ass. But when you have to put your own back against the wall, it's pretty impressive on what you can do. Right.
Yeah.
And it's pretty wild. And I always try to use the analogy, and I don't like to, but I try to use something intense to even clients that I chat with, like, hey, if mom gets sick and you need 50 grand to make sure mom's okay, what are you going to do? And it's like, you figure it out. You're getting 50K. Like, so some of it's like, how do I wake up every day thinking, sorry, mom, if you're listening to this, thinking that mom is sick and I got to put my back against the wall every day.
Yeah.
But that's the kind of mentality you got to have. And it's easy to lose it. But podcasts like these and others, and just YouTube and whatever you got to do to keep that motivation alive and keep rocking out there, guys. If you're listening to this and you're going through something, realize that there's light at the end of the tunnel. Half of the battle sometimes just keep going. And you got to fight through it and battle through it. There's no one that's going to do it but you. And you can believe in yourself, I think. So awesome. Thank you for that story. What do you think, in your opinion, your professional opinion? You've had several businesses now. I mean, many entrepreneurs out there just quit and give up. Why do you think that is?
Yeah, I think what it is this is the part that it's coming to me, is that they haven't normalized failure, right? And it's the part of saying, like, look, not only are you going to fail, you're going to fail a shitload. And you're going to consistently do this on a day-to-day basis. And the thing is that those losses for people, when they have them, are so crushing if they haven't gotten used to it, right?
Yeah.
And this is the part, is that like it's really hard to throw a lot of your effort 2 months of like maybe a good marketing campaign to have it completely flop, right? And for most people, those crushing lows, like they're just too hard to carry on with. And they'll say, look, I'm not good enough. But for the big part is that once you've learned to keep that failure normal and say, this is what is a part of the day-to-day, then it makes it just as good as the highs, right? Because you're like, all right, this is normal. Also, when you succeed, this is normal. And that way it allows you to keep it an even keel. So that way you can keep tracking and keep going regardless of outcomes. And that's what people do. They tie themselves to outcomes as opposed to the effort.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. And I think that there's a couple of things on the outcome side, the money side. If you get it in it for just the money, people say you'll lose. And that's not always true. I think you can still make money and not obviously and totally love what you do, because everyone's making money somehow, right?
Yeah.
But the passion area, but it's almost like at what length though? How long can you truly do something like that? Because if it's not result driven or feeling driven, mainly it makes you feel good. And I'm sure, Kale, the same thing. It makes you probably feel good to see your clients win, right? Because they've invested a lot. You have a lot of responsibility for people. You do, that, right? Like you have a lot of responsibility for people. And I think that's I tell my attorney the same thing. I was like, I don't want your job, man. I'd suck to be a litigation attorney, but he does a really good job at it. He just does a really good job at not being so emotional like I would be.
Yeah.
But like, you guys have you drive people's business and on many levels. And I think that's one, commending because you built a skill set to do it. And two, I really do like the model. And I'm not only saying this, guys, if you're listening, because Kale's an awesome dude. I'm just sitting here talking to him. But on the reality, like a lot of people don't talk about this. They don't talk about, let's really focus on the holistic approach and the platform stuff. And I've said it a few times now, but I really like it and I want to push it. And I want to make sure people are hearing me say this. And the other marketers that have been on the show, I love you guys too, but I like this. This makes sense because from a guy that spends hundreds of thousands of dollars in marketing, I get how important that is. So if you can afford to market on every platform, and when I say that lightly, because you don't have to be able to quote unquote afford it, you just got to be able to have enough money put on there to test it. Because you're not going to end up using all of them anyways.
Exactly. Exactly. Bro.
Is TikTok cheap right now?
Yeah. And this is so one of the things we're very lucky to have TikTok as a client. And we've been able to work with them now, get over sort of that 100K installs for them. But the other side, people just aren't on the buying platform yet. And so like you're getting cheap CPMs, CPCs, and CPVs, and you're looking at it and it's a really good acquisition tool right now. So I think if there are marketers listening to this, jump on that platform and start buying. Like in New Zealand, we can't use it yet, but because we're in the States and we've got obviously the other agency, we can buy there. So
absolutely. Yeah. Buying. I mean, I say that because obviously rhetorical. I know I don't even know what it costs or what the hell TikTok does. I'll be honest with you guys, but here's what I do know. It's new. And when it's new, it's cheap. Snapchat was the same way. Facebook was the same way, and Instagram. Well, not as much as Facebook and Instagram because they had those acquisitions. But I think also you think about Gary Vee, and he talks about how he's like, I wasn't just, given all this crazy. He was a wine, connoisseur wine company that he had such a low cost CPM when YouTube came out. Like he blew up, and he's like, this is working, right? So it's timing. And we're not saying we're timing the stock market here, guys. What we're saying is that give it a shot because it's cheap. And if it works, then awesome. If it doesn't, okay. But if you feel like you can connect to that demographic of TikTok in the younger world, then it's a no-brainer to give it a shot. How do you feel like you've kind of built the life that you want to live, Kale, like through your businesses?
Say it again once more, bro.
How do you feel like you have built the life that you want to live with your businesses?
Yeah, I've been very lucky on the front that the opportunities that have come with the progression of marketing and the way digital marketing has come is that it's allowed me to be able to learn as much as I need to be successful on those fronts and deliver good campaigns for clients. And the second part of that is that if I'm able to do that digitally, it means I can live remotely, right? And so the opportunity is that I'm very lucky. Like I live in a pretty small place, 100,000 people in Dunedin. My partner's a doctor, and I, to be honest, don't have to be in LA. Like I don't have to be fighting with all the other big agencies and not fighting in that space. And so the things that I love is that like I'm at uni. I study part-time because I love studying, right?
Yeah.
And I get the opportunity to choose and pick who I want to work with virtually and the people I want to work with here physically and be around socially, right? So the thing about this and that people are now seeing my highlight reel is that, like I'm living what I want and it's by design. and the work that's been there. But look, this part of it is that I get to learn, I get to work with cool people, I get to jump on amazing podcasts. But this is the life side of it that's been purposeful since building my own company, right? And those failures that I talked about earlier, it's been worth stomaching those because at the moment, I get the good that's come with it.
Awesome. If you had to give one piece of parting advice to aspiring entrepreneurs and current entrepreneurs listening right now, what would that be?
Yeah, I want to talk very quickly about our climate and what we're in. We are facing a relatively big pandemic with coronavirus. And one of the things I really want to point out is that I'm just going to name some companies that are still existing today. Walt Disney Company was started at the bottom of a market crash in 1929. Fortune magazine was 90 days after that market crash. Coors was at the Depression of 1873. And I think General Motors as well in the panic of 1907, right? And all of these companies and the things that are doing, these are names that are household names now, right? And so what I want people to understand is that, yes, things are bad right now and they may look worse, but people who are working on doing and executing don't see the market as the problem. It's only the effort they apply to their businesses that will make the difference. So there we go.
That. Yeah, that's right. The ones that power through are the ones that deserve to be there, right? And be at the top. I think that's awesome. Where can people find you? I want to make sure they get the website.
Yeah, of course. So jump onto www.kjgrowth.com. And you can find us and our entire team. And then the other one, I'm pretty prevalent on LinkedIn. So if you want to come and chat to me there, and also Instagram, you can find me on any of those platforms, just Kale Panoho.
Kale Panoho, thanks so much for your time today.
Awesome. Absolute pleasure. Thanks for having me, brother.
Life Nation, you got to remember that in order for things to change, you must change. And in order for things to get better, you must get better. You just got better by hanging out with me, Michael Libas, and the Business and Life Nation. So come back tomorrow because I'm here dropping sound bombs 7 days a week, baby. If you'd like to subscribe, please do, so you can take action and execute. See you tomorrow.